Hello again, everyone. Yesterday I made this video and posted it called Media Criticism is Dying, and I got a lot of pretty interesting comments, and eventually I'm going to make a part 2 to this entire video talking about media criticism and how I feel it's dying. But one thing that I want to talk about was a point that I was making in my video yesterday, and that point is that just because something is woke does not necessarily mean that it is bad, and that I feel a lot of critics and people that are making videos on YouTube right now are misunderstanding why these woke products are bad. So, the thing that I want to use to explain my point here is something I've talked about a lot on my channel that I really love, and you can tell from the thumbnail, that being Arcane. For those of you that have been following me for about 6 months, you know that I talked a lot about Arcane. I have probably close to 35 to 40 videos, some north of an hour to an hour and a half in length, talking about the story and why I love it so much. So, my point here, have you ever heard anyone say or criticize Arcane for being too woke? The answer here is no, which is interesting because out of all of the TV shows that I've watched in the last few years, Arcane is by far one of the wokest TV shows of them all. This is a very colorful, very diverse cast filled with people of every gender, every sexuality, every race. It is just a really, really complex cast. Most of the leads are female. One of the female leads is she's not only a female, but she's lesbian, that being Violet. And you don't hear anyone complaining about Arcane being too woke. Not only that, one of my big criticisms for season 2 of Arcane, and a popular criticism just amongst a ton of people, is that season 2 of Arcane, I guess, wasn't woke enough, or not woke in the proper ways, because they actually put a lot of those progressive things they were pushing, a lot of the progressive ideologies and characters and characterization, such as the political differences between Piltover and Zaun and the conflict, on the back burner, and replace it with something that was far less nuanced and complex and not nearly as interesting. So, my point here is, Arcane is the perfect example of what I mean when I say the problem isn't things are woke. The problem is corporations know that being woke and supporting leftist ideology and LGBTQ+ and diversity is profitable. They've known this for years. So what they did was create a lot of products that had this woke agenda put into them so they could just make money. But in doing that, in making money being the sole purpose for putting this agenda into their products, they didn't actually create cohesive stories that supported this idea that they were trying to push. And I wanted to mention someone that I brought up yesterday talking about this, that being the Critical Drinker. So he made an Arcane video that I watched a while back, and I rewatched it today for this video. And you know what? I'll give him the ad watch. And he says something really interesting right here. So, put subtitles on. Oh, that's him cursing, as usual. Here we go. He says here that basically Arcane, and he's not going to be criticizing Arcane for having this woke agenda, because while they have the agenda in place, they're not coming off preachy or irritating, and the script never jumps the ship or doesn't characterize someone properly for the sake of this woke agenda. And I'm going to say this right now. He is actually right. This one moment of clarity does not excuse the vast mountain and rivers of him going against this point, but the reason Arcane does not ever take any disrespect for having this woke agenda is because it is very well written, and when people see something that is well written, they don't respond with so much anger. So Arcane, right? This is this really well written show with this really diverse cast and lesbians and gay people and just everything. This whole agenda that people want to talk about, it's all here. But the reason no one is complaining about it from either side of the spectrum, like, I don't hear people that are very far right, very conservative in values, very against the woke agenda, complaining about Arcane because they recognize that it is well written. And on the other hand, I see people that are very much for this agenda, very much trying to push it and want it in their medias, loving Arcane Season 1 specifically because they felt it embodied what they were going for and how they felt so accurately. And this is an example of what I mean when I say the reason people are always criticizing the woke agenda is because they are I think some people are trying to criticize the writing of a product but don't know or don't have the words to do it. So they hear this thing called the woke agenda that they hear their favorite YouTubers spilling out for views and go, oh, that must be the problem. So I'm a hopeful person. I think a lot of these people that are using the woke agenda to slam on products, on people, don't quite understand what they are saying and are just saying something that they think is right to criticize the writing. Because the issue is not the fact that a product is woke. Arcane is a perfect example of this. The issue is that the writing is flawed. So we can take something like this Snow White. That's what I said, the Snow White. Snow White. This is something that has got a lot of criticism for being too woke and being too left-leaning and being too female empowering. And all of that stuff isn't why the movie was bad. It's not why it didn't do well. All of those things that people are listing off, first of all, is misogynist. If you just disagree with the idea that something is bad because it's empowering females, or you don't support LGBTQ+, or any of those ideas, that is bigoted. Like, I need you to understand that there is bigotry behind those statements. However, if you just think something isn't well written and you don't have the words to describe it, I would recommend getting into analysis, reading some books, just further educating yourself on this topic so you don't subconsciously or accidentally spew this cycle of hatred that if that isn't your goal. And I find it so funny how people are always saying, oh yeah, the number one issue is that it's all woke. The woke agenda, this leftist agenda is ruining everything, when that's not it. So I want to go through some of my comments on this video I made yesterday, and I will do more of these, or go through old comments talking about this agenda and the issues with it. And someone actually mentions Arcane. This was a really good comment I got. Read more. Here's what I think the issue is. Before the internet, most people were not critical of the media they consumed. That was fine. Not everyone has to be. And just factually, most people don't think about something they watch once, they're done watching it. But nowadays, the internet has made it so the type of person who doesn't organically think about their media now pretends to be a critic. Consequently, it's a bunch of people just mimicking what other people are saying. There's a point where people are just repeating buzzwords that they heard. Half the time, they don't even know what they're saying. I actually think it's degraded in the recent years. So I agree with this comment, and that's my whole point. I don't think as many people are homophobic or misogynistic as you would think. I just think they are repeating buzzwords that they don't fully understand because they think that it's accurate to the way they feel, when the reality is the people saying these buzzwords are falsely representing the idea that they're stating. Now, this is another really good comment I got. Perfect example here. One of the main problems with Arcane Season 2, but not the least, is that it backtracked from all the woke themes set up in Season 1, like police brutality and systems repression. If anything, it wasn't woke enough. This comment inspired this video. Arcane Season 1 is one of the most inherently woke stories I've ever consumed, and one of the main problems of Season 2 is that it isn't woke enough. And funny enough, Season 2, which is less woke, is a season that gets far more criticism from all types of fans. It doesn't even matter what their political ideology is. They just recognize the writing issues. It has nothing to do with whether it's woke or not. This is really refreshing to watch. I find that folk of the objective criticism side of movie reviewers go down the anti-woke path. So nice. Yeah, I think this is, again, a lot of people come into this space and view objectivity as this thing that they want to obtain, which I appreciate, because I think being objective and looking at things critically is really, really helpful. But they associate this anti-woke path with people like the Critical Drinker, with people like Neurotic, with some people that are on EFAP. They associate that ideology with being objective, and they might not even know that they're doing it. And that's why you hear a lot of these objective critics and analysts going, oh, it's the woke agenda, it's the liberal agenda. And it's like, hold on. First of all, if I was ever in one of these podcasts, I would ask someone, hey, what do you think about the liberal or woke agenda that you actually think is bad and shouldn't be in our media? And I'm going to guarantee you, unless they are a true bigot, they're not going to know how to respond to that, because it's a question that no one ever asks them because they echo chamber themselves. And it's very, very frustrating. But yeah, that's the video. I don't know why I pulled this up. That's the video. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about some of these ideas, and specifically Arcane, how it is an example of a very, very woke story, a very left-leaning story in many ways, that gets literally no criticism for being too woke or pushing too much of an agenda because it's well written. And how that is a perfect example for other people as to why just saying the woke agenda is the problem with media is wrong. It's not the woke agenda. It is specifically a glaring writing issue, and people are oversimplifying, and some people are being bigoted and pushing all that onto the woke agenda. It's not it. It's a writing problem. Hope this helps. But yeah, with all that being said, thanks so much for watching. I'll expect more videos like this in the future of me just kind of ranting and talking, getting my thoughts out about some complex issues that I feel I need to get my emotions out on. And yeah, hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.